Welcome back to Superyacht International. In this video I will be discussing anchoring. Don't forget to like and subscribe. What's covered? We will cover what is anchoring, how to prepare for anchoring, the anchoring process, factors to consider when anchoring, and finally, how to rig extra equipment. Why set an anchor? An anchor is a device, normally made of metal, used to secure a vessel to the bed of a body of water to prevent the craft from drifting due to wind or current. Anchoring allows you to stop for lunch or overnight in a quiet bay, but it is also the first line of action if the engine fails. There are many factors to consider before anchoring. The most important things to keep in mind before deciding where to anchor your boat are wind, current and water depth. Parts of an anchor. There are 5 main parts to an anchor: the shank, fluke, stock, crown, and tripping ring. Each meaning is found below as well as a diagram of a Danforth anchor. Types of anchors. There are 5 main types of anchors: Bruce, CQR, Delta, Danforth, and Fisherman's. Before choosing an anchor, consider the nature of the seabed typically used. Different anchors are better at holding in some materials than in others. Anchoring preparation. There are 4 steps to any maneuver: appraise, plan, execute, and monitor. Before performing this maneuver, there are some things that must be considered. The appraisal stage requires data gathering. Common things to consider include depth, length of stay, seabed, traffic density, and wind and tide situation. The planning stage involves choosing a starting point and angle of approach as well as a decision on a bailing out plan. Here are some extra tips when anchoring: ensure the chain is not tangled before releasing, or this can result in a dangerous situation. Mark the chain at regular intervals for better identification. If insufficient cable is laid out, it is likely that the anchor will drag. You should pay out 4 times the depth of water when using chain, and 6 times when using warp and chain. It is good to note that scope varies on the conditions during your stay. The anchoring process. It involves choosing a location, preparing to drop, lowering the anchor, and monitoring during your stay. It is important to never tie off an anchor to the stern of a boat, as this could be enough to swamp the boat. Setting the anchor. Determine the water depth and subsequently, cable length. Prepare the approach and plan. Carefully drop the anchor and use the elements to assist you. Finally, set up any additional equipment such as a snubber or kellet. There are 3 main types of anchoring. Regular, with 1 anchor. V-shape, with 2 anchors, and stern mooring, with 1 or 2 anchors and lines to the dock or rocks ashore. 2 anchors are only needed if the length of stay is prolonged or the conditions worsen. Retrieving the anchor. Slowly motor towards the anchor while pulling it in. Try to always keep the pressure on the windlass low to minimize the risk of damage. Once the anchor is free of obstructions, bring it home and secure it for sea. Motoring onto an anchor. Appraise and plan as before. During the maneuver, adjust speed and direction and aim to be stationary whilst initially dropping. After the maneuver, monitor conditions during your stay and consider any changes that may occur. Sailing onto an anchor. Sailing onto an anchor is more challenging and the wind and tide conditions must be considered more. There are 4 scenarios: intertide and wind, intertide and across wind, intertide and downwind, and no tide. Each situation requires a different plan. The appraisal stage requires data gathering. Common things to consider include depth, length of stay, and wind and tide situation. The planning stage involves choosing a starting point and angle of approach as well as a decision on a bailing out plan. When sailing, as mentioned before, more factors must be considered. What sail is needed and where to approach from become much more important and can be the difference between effectively mooring and not. Unless the water is non-tidal, the tide should be seen as greater than wind and the plan built around this. Below is a guide of typical sail setups and approaches for the 4 different scenarios. The execution stage is where everything comes together. It is important to use the previous stages to your advantage. The monitoring stage requires good situational awareness and is essential for a secure stay. Intertide, interwind. Use the mainsail. Try to keep the yacht on a close reach but avoid pointing too high as this will slow the boat down and fall behind the spot. Keep the spot on the leeward side and aim to be stopped at your chosen pickup location. Into tide, across wind. Use the mainsail or headsail. This is wind angle dependent. Depower the sail by sheeting out and follow the same steps as before. Drop or furl away the sail to avoid the possibility of jibing and causing injury. Into tide, downwind. Use the headsail only. Reduce the sail size if needed and follow the same steps as before. Drop or furl away the sail on the approach or just after the pickup, otherwise the approach may become too fast. No tide. If there is no tide, then it's a case of into the wind with the mainsail, filling and spilling and following the same steps as before. Swing circle. The seabed and your swing circle are two very important things to consider when anchoring, especially in a busy anchorage. Your swing is the circle in which your boat could move during your stay. It is calculated from the anchor position and adds the length of cable to the length of your vessel. It is a good idea to set alarms for vessels entering this area or you drifting out of this area. The diagram shows how large a swing could be and the need for awareness of other vessels. The seabed. The seabed composition is shown on the chart. Each symbol represents a different material. As mentioned before, the seabed can impact the anchor holding ability and must be considered if it's safe for the duration of stay. How to rig a snubber. What is a snubber? A line attached to the chain with two important functions, absorbing shock and preventing the windlass taking all the strain. In yachts, it also prevents the chain banging on the side of the vessel. The process: you attach a length of nylon or Dyneema line to the chain. Attach the other end to a strong point on deck. Feed out more chain to let the line take the tension. How to rig a tripline. What is a tripline? A line attached to the crown of an anchor and leading up to a buoy in case the anchor requires breaking out of the ground. The process: you attach a line to the crown of the anchor, lower the line down as the anchor is released. Attach the other end to your boat or a buoy and pull on the line if the anchor gets stuck. How to rig a kellet. What is a kellet? An extra weight added to the chain. It is used to create a horizontal force on the chain, allowing for a better anchor pull. The process: you attach a weight roughly midway along the chain and lower down the weight as the anchor is released. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the other videos on our channel. Check the description for links.